Assalamu alaikum. So we are going to continue with the topic of delay calculation. So yesterday we looked at the equation for cycle length and we discussed the topic of uniform delay. Okay, the delay is the most common parameter of effectiveness on intersections, and we calculate in this course we only calculate the condition of uniform delay, which is for under saturated conditions. It is for under saturated conditions and what else? Yeah. So I explained to you this sketch yesterday. Okay. So we had the green time and the arrival and departure were the same. Then during the red time, we have arrival rate, which is V. After the red time, we have departure rate, which is saturation flow rate. And then you have the two lines meeting with each other, which is an indication of uniform flow or under saturated conditions. If the conditions are oversaturated, then these two lines will not meet. Okay. So let us discuss the equation for uniform delay according to Webster. So Webster gave the equation of uniform delay in 1958, and according to him, uniform delay is calculated as half R into V. So UD means uniform delay. A indicates aggregate. So I told you yesterday, delay can be aggregate, meaning total delay for all vehicles. So it can be average delay per vehicle. This one is aggregate delay, and the units are vehicle seconds because R is in seconds. And then we have R into V. V is the number of vehicles in the queue. How many vehicles were in the queue because of the red time? Okay, so all vehicles which are in the queue will be V. So this is number of vehicles, and then we have R, which is the red time. The red time. Okay, so equation is very simple. We have time, we have number of vehicles, you multiply them, you get total delay. Okay, so in this equation, R is the red time. So R can be calculated using this equation. How did I get this equation? First of all, we have already used this ratio earlier, G by C ratio, the proportion of cycle length, which is effective green. Okay, so if you take the total effective green time in the cycle, then whatever is remaining is the red phase. Whatever is remaining is the red phase. Okay, because in calculating effective green time, you have already subtracted the lost times. Okay, so basically whatever is not effective green is red time, which is basically the lost time. Okay, so in calculation of effective green, we did it in the previous lectures. We already subtract the clearance lost time and the startup lost time. So whatever is remaining is red time, and the red time including red phase and everything. Okay, so G by C is the proportion of cycle length, which is effective green. 1 minus G by C will give you the remaining proportion, and then you multiply the remaining proportion with the cycle length to get the red time. Okay, so 1 minus G by C is the proportion of cycle time, which is not effective green. So you multiply with the cycle length, you get the time for red. Okay, red phase. Again, this is the total red phase for the entire signal. Okay, yeah, so we have the equation for red here. So R can be replaced with this equation. Okay, now let us move forward. We have V now. V, capital V, number of vehicles in the queue. Number of vehicles in the queue can be calculated in two ways. But before calculation, let us understand this new term here, TC. So this is the same figure which I showed you yesterday. So we said R is this one, and R can be calculated using this equation. And then we have time TC. Now what is time TC? Time, you can see at the end of TC, the two lines are meeting again. So time TC is known as a clearance time. Clearance time. Time taken to clear the queue. So after the red becomes green, after the signal becomes green, the time taken by the vehicles to move from the queue. Time taken by all the vehicles from the queue to cross the stop line, that is time TC. So obviously when at the end of TC, you will have no queue and the two lines will meet again. Now you can calculate number of vehicles in the queue using either the departure flow rate or arrival flow rate. Okay, so flow rate basically means what? Vehicles upon time, right? Vehicles upon time. So vehicles are departing at a flow rate of S, which is saturation flow rate. Okay, during time TC, vehicles are departing at a rate of S, which is saturation flow rate. So if you multiply flow rate with time, you will get number of vehicles. Flow rate is vehicles upon time. You multiply flow rate with time, you get number of vehicles. So if you multiply departure flow rate with TC, you will get number of vehicles in the queue. TC is the time taken to clear the queue, and flow rate is the time at which the vehicles move from the queue. So rate multiplied by time will give you how many vehicles were in the queue. So this is one way of calculating capital V, number of vehicles in the queue, which is by using departure flow rate or saturation flow rate, because we said queue is cleared at a rate of saturation. Then we have arrival flow rate. Okay, we have another method of calculating a number of vehicles in the queue, which is capital V, is using the arrival flow rate. Now, vehicles are coming, okay, at a rate of V. So these vehicles who come during rect time will join the queue. Okay, so V into R will give you number of vehicles in the queue, part of number of vehicles in the queue, part of number of vehicles in the queue, because even after the rect time, the queue is there. So even if somebody comes during time TC, he has to join the queue because there are vehicles in front of him. Okay, so anybody who is coming during R or during TC will have to join the queue. And we have already discussed that queue can still be there even if the vehicles are moving. Okay, so the queue will remain there until all the vehicles in the queue have crossed the stop line. So if you come during that time when vehicles from the previous queue have not crossed the stop line, that means you are part of the same queue now. You cannot move at your own speed. You have to join the queue. So vehicles which are arriving during R and TC with this flow rate will also join the queue. So V can also be calculated as this flow rate multiplied by the time, which time? R plus TC. R plus TC. Okay, so now we have two ways of calculating V. One is by using the departure flow rate. So departure flow rate multiplied by the time taken to clear the queue, or arrival flow rate multiplied by the time in which the vehicles are joining the queue, which is R plus TC. Okay, so obviously from both equations, from both approaches, you should get the same answer. So V can be equal to S into TC or small v into R plus TC. Again, capital V means number of vehicles in the queue. Small v is the arrival flow rate. Keep it in mind. Small v is the arrival flow rate. So arrival flow rate R plus TC will give you the same answer as S into TC. You will use this equation to calculate the value of TC now. So TC equals to this. TC equals to this. Okay, so I made this equation, these two equations equal, and I calculate the value of TC here. Okay. Now we said number of vehicles in the queue from the arrival flow rate equals to this. In this equation, I have R here, okay, and I have TC here. So I will replace the value of TC, which I have calculated here, which I have derived here. So this equation is going here as a value of TC. Okay, so when you put this equation here, then you can take R as constant, and then you can put, first of all, you can multiply V with both the terms, and then you can take R as constant. So this is a simplified form of the equation. Okay, open all the brackets, and then you can take R as constant, and then you will have this simplified equation. So this is the equation for calculating V. Now in this equation we have R, and R is equal to this. Remember, proportion of effective green, 1 minus proportion of effective green will give you the remaining proportion of cycle length, multiplied by cycle length will give you R. So instead of R, I will use the equation of R. So this is the expanded equation for number of vehicles in the queue. Then going back to the equation of Webster, uniform delay, half R into V. So R equals to this, basically only this, okay, not the whole equation. The whole equation is for V. So R equals to C into 1 minus G upon C, and then V equals to this whole thing. Okay, so when you put the value of R and V, you will get this equation. Okay, so since R is, the equation of R is multiplied twice, is like it's in R as well as in V. So you see the squares here. Okay, so this is the equation for aggregate delay in uniform flow conditions, aggregate delay. Okay, now if you want to calculate average delay, then you will divide this equation with number of vehicles in the queue. Okay, divide this equation with number of vehicles in the queue. Okay, so when you divide this equation with number of vehicles in the queue, you will get this. Okay, you divide this equation. So this is the equation for average delay, seconds per vehicle, and this is the equation for uniform delay. Okay, total delay, and this is average delay per vehicle. Okay, now in the signal design, we have discussed a term which is known as V by C ratio. volume capacity ratio, right? So V by C ratio uh, uh, was used in the design of the cycle length. So we want to put V by C ratio in the uniform delay calculation as well, so that we have a common parameter. Okay. So how to insert V by C ratio here? Now the first example which we did in this chapter, we calculated capacity using this equation. In the first example, so we said S is the saturation flow rate. Okay, and if the complete cycle length is effective green, then capacity equals to saturation flow rate. Okay, if the complete cycle length is effective green, then capacity equals to saturation flow rate. Okay, but obviously the whole cycle length is not effective green, so you will only achieve a proportion of saturation flow rate which is same as the proportion of G by C. Okay, so saturation flow rate multiplied by G by C will give you the actual capacity of the intersection. Okay, this is what we used earlier. Now if C, so small c again for clarification, small c means capacity, capital C means cycle length. Small c is capacity, capital C is cycle length. So from this equation, I can derive an equation for S, saturation flow rate. So saturation flow rate equals C upon G by C. So C means capacity upon G by C means effective green upon cycle length. Okay. So I have the equation of S here. Now I will put this equation of S in this equation now. So S will be replaced by small c upon G by C ratio. So it will become V upon C multiplied by G by C ratio, because you are dividing the denominator with G by C, so it will be multiplied. So this is what we have done. So it was V upon S, so I replaced V upon S, I replaced the S with C upon G upon C. So it became V upon C multiplied by G upon C. Okay, so 1 upon 2 means 0.5. Okay, other things are the same. V by C ratio is represented as X. X means V by C ratio. X means V by C ratio, volume capacity ratio. Okay, and it will be the same which you have used in your design of the cycle length. Okay. So let us do an example. So we have intersection which has a flow rate of 1000 vehicles per hour. This is a arrival flow rate B. Saturation flow rate is given 2800 vehicles per hour. Cycle length 90 seconds. G by C ratio 0.55. You have to calculate average delay, not aggregate delay, average delay per vehicle. Average delay per vehicle. Okay, now for average delay, this is the equation. In this equation, cycle length is required. We have that 90 seconds. G by C ratio is required. We have that 0.55 seconds. Then we need X. X is not here. X is not given. It's V by C ratio. X is V by C ratio. So for V by C ratio, I need V and C both. V is given 1000 vehicles per hour. Arrival flow rate is given. C not given. Capacity not given. So I need to calculate the capacity. For capacity, I will use this equation now. Okay, the equation from where we began the derivation for S. So I will use this equation now. In this equation, I need G by C ratio, which is given 0.55, and I need the saturation flow rate, which is given 2800. Okay, so 2800 into G by C ratio will give you 1540 vehicles per hour, 1540 vehicles per hour. Okay, so arrival flow rate 1000, capacity 1540. So your your V by C ratio will be 0.649. 0.649. So now I have all the values required for this equation. Okay, so V by C ratio 0.649 and G by C ratio 0.55, cycle length 90 seconds. What else do you need? What else do I need? Cycle length, yeah, everything is given. Give me uniform delay line. Uniform delay, how much is it? 14.17 seconds per vehicle. Okay, 14.17 seconds per vehicle. Okay, you must, again, I keep on emphasizing on the units. You have to understand the units. Okay, so 14.17 seconds per vehicle. So this is the delay. This is a uniform delay, and this is the end of this chapter. Okay. So for people who are having 4 or 5 members, they are doing intersection, and this is the end of their work now. Okay. So I have already completed the work for the 2 or 3 group member groups. Okay, which was for the calculation of level of service. People who are doing segments, they have 2 to 3 members in the group, and they will calculate level of service for both directions of the highway. Okay, people who are doing intersections, which means they have 4 to 5 members in the group, and this is up to what they have to do. All the calculations which I have done in this chapter, they have to do it. You have to calculate, you have the volume and you have the capacity. You have to calculate the capacity and volume. You have to calculate V by C ratio yourself. If you mean this example, then V by C ratio is 0.649. If you mean for the project, calculate it yourself. Okay, you have the volume, you have the saturation flow rate, and you have to calculate yourself. Okay. Again, you cannot do it from one question. I did not solve one question in which I did all the calculations. Okay, you have to look at the different questions I did in this chapter, and then if you have problem, you can ask me. Okay, if you are asking Ali, if you are asking about this example, then V by C ratio was calculated at 0.649. Okay, if you are asking for a project, I don't think you are doing project for intersections. Okay, so please don't, again, like I said for the exam as well, don't exhaust yourself in thinking about something which you don't have to do. If you are 2 to 3 members in the group, you are not doing signal calculations. You are not doing signal calculations. So I think there are only 2 groups. As far as I remember, there are only 2 groups which are doing that. If you have questions, you can ask me privately. You can show me your data and so on. Okay, instead of wasting the classes time. Okay, do not worry and do not make yourself, do not stress yourself over things you don't have to do. Okay, focus on the project which you have to do. So if you are in both cases, you will submit the report and you will make a presentation as well. So I wanted to just say one thing here. For the presentation, you will make a video. For the presentation, you will make a video. You will submit the video in the group which I have created for you, the report and the video. In the video, all of you have to talk. All of you have to talk. So if there are 3 members in the group, I must listen to all 3 voices. Okay. If you want to make sure, you can introduce yourself before you speak. How you make the video, I leave it up to you. I leave it up to you, but it must be a video file. It must be a video file. If you want to create a PowerPoint, then convert it to video, fine. If you want to record yourself giving a lecture, fine. Okay, be innovative, express yourself, like they say. Okay, and video will not be done in the class live. You just upload the video and I will just see it, and that's it. Okay, PowerPoint, you will convert it to video. If you make a PowerPoint, convert it to video with your voiceover. Okay, I don't want any silent presentations. Yeah, just explain the PowerPoint, no problem. Explain the PowerPoint, no problem. Yes, like I said, I just want to listen. I just want to listen. Okay, so voice is enough. Voice is enough. Okay, but like I said, it must be for all the group members. Okay, it must be for all the group members. If I listen only one voice, okay, then that means you don't have to show yourselves. If you don't want to show your faces, you don't have to show yourselves. Okay, but you will show content, you will show your project, you will show maybe your location, whatever you want to show. Okay, don't record WhatsApp messages. Okay, don't record more WhatsApp audio messages. I don't want that. There should be a video. I should be looking at something, not your faces. Fine. It can be slides. It can be your pictures of your from your project. Anything. Okay. So you need to show me something, not your faces, and you have to talk. Okay. What you want to talk, you will decide. Okay. Don't give me audio. Audio is not acceptable. Only audio is not acceptable. Only audio is not acceptable. Okay, there should be an audio in the background and there should be something on the video as well. Okay, understood? And like I said, all members have to speak. If I only listen to one voice, that means I will deduct marks for all the members, because then I cannot know which one was not speaking. Okay, so make sure all the members have their voice in the video. Okay, so it must be a video file. Yeah, your voice can be in the background. In the video, you can show yourself, pictures, slides, your work, whatever, up to you. Okay. Okay. Now I'm moving on to chapter 19, which is the design of pre-time signals. So in the last chapter, we discussed there are different types of signals, and we will only do the most basic and traditional one, which is the pre-time signals. And this is good for the design of other types of signals as well. So later on in some other course or in your professional life, if you have to design other types of signals as well, then these concepts will help you there as well. Okay, but obviously we cannot cover all the types of signals in this course. So we are just covering pre-time signals. So the design process consists of 3 steps. The first step is developing a phasing plan, safe and effective phasing plan in sequence. So phasing plan means we have already discussed. One phase means the movement time given for, the time given for each movement. Okay, the time given for one movement. So a phase consists of green, yellow, and all red for a specific movement. So phasing plan means you decide how many phases you need, and in each phase, which movements you will allow. Okay, which movements you will allow and what movements can be safe. So the easiest one is you have 4 directions, 1 phase for each direction, right? This is the easiest one. This is the easiest one. Okay, easiest one in terms of understanding, right? Easiest one in terms of understanding is 4 directions, 1 phase for each direction, right? Simple. And then you have to make sure that safe means that there should not be any conflicting movements within the same phase. So for example, if you have a phase in which you are allowing this movement, then obviously you cannot allow this movement, right? This movement cannot be allowed in the same phase. Okay, so you have to look how many movements you are allowing in one phase, and then that these movements should not be conflicting with each other. Okay, so this movement cannot be allowed, but this one can be allowed in the same phase. Okay, this one can be allowed. So in some cases, you may allow a movement which is conflicting, okay, provided that the volume is very low. So for example, not this one, this is directly conflicting. You may allow not this one, but you can allow this movement maybe, because they are merging together in the same lane. It's like a right turn. Okay, so they are merging together in the same lane. So you may allow both of them together if the volume from this direction is not too high. And this is the meaning of effectiveness. Okay, try to maximize the number of movements in less number of phases, because each time you increase a phase, you are increasing the lost time. And we have seen it in the previous chapter. I showed you with the graph that more phases have less capacity, because more phases means more lost time. So effectiveness here means try to incorporate as many movements as safely as possible in one phase. Okay, so if a movement has a very low volume, you may allow it with another movement which is has a minor conflict with it. So this one, like this is straight. Okay, this one and this one is like a minor conflict. These are merging. Okay, so they are not moving in different directions. They are coming from different directions, but they are merging together. So the conflict is minor. Okay, you may allow it, but provided that the volume is very low and the drivers are not like this. Okay, and then you have to develop the phasing sequence as well. Okay, so sequence means after one phase, which other phase will you give? Okay, so normally it depends upon the Q. Okay, so if you feel after this phase, the Q in this direction will be very high or very long, then you allow this direction and so on. Okay. After you develop the phasing sequence, then you go for the calculation of signal timings. Okay, signal timings for vehicle requirements. So first of all, you will calculate yellow and all red intervals, which are also known as change and clearance intervals for each phase. Okay, change and clearance intervals for each phase. Now for yellow interval, we have already done it using the stopping side distance in chapter 3. But don't worry, I will show you the equation again in this chapter as well in the next lecture. So yellow interval we know how to calculate. Okay, and all red interval is basically calculated using the dimension of the signal, the dimension of the intersection, sorry. So you do have the dimension of the intersection, and then you find out how much time you need to clear the intersection. For a car, how much time it needs to pass the intersection, like that, according to the dimension. So you will calculate all that or clearance time. But again, we have an equation for that. We have an equation for that as well. So you will calculate yellow and all interval for each phase of the signal. Okay. Then you will find out for each phase which is the critical lane. So I explained it critical lane in the last lecture as well. Critical lane is the one which has the most intensive volume for that phase. Okay, so each phase will have a critical lane, and then you do the summation of all critical lanes, and we call it VC. If you remember, we used it in the cycle length equation as well. So VC is the summation of all critical lane volumes. Then find out the loss time for each phase. Okay, so loss time has two parts: startup loss time, clearance loss time. So clearance loss time again will come from here, and startup loss time. And for all that we have an equation as well. Okay, so even if you don't want to use the dimension, then you have an equation for all that. But for clearance loss time, you have to use the dimension of the intersection. Okay, and then we have the startup loss time. So startup loss time, you have to do the observation of the headways. I told you the first 3 or 4 vehicles take extra time as compared to the saturation headway. So you have to calculate how much extra time the first 3-4 vehicles are consuming. That will be the startup loss time. So each phase can have its own loss time. So you can calculate the clearance and the startup loss time for each phase separately as well. But normally they are taken as same for all the phases. If you remember the examples which we did in last chapter, we were doing n into TL, number of phases into the loss time for each phase. So they were saying itself. Here they are saying loss time per phase. But in the last chapter, they were also assuming the loss time for every phase to be the same. So that's why they were doing n into TL. So n into TL means each phase has the same loss time. N into TL will give you total loss time in the whole cycle, L. Okay, so find out loss time for each phase, multiply the number of phases, you get loss time for the whole cycle. Then find out the appropriate cycle length using the C desirable equation. If you remember, there were two equations, one for minimum, one for desirable. You will use a desirable one here, C desirable equation. Then from the whole cycle length, find out the green times. From the whole cycle length, find out the green time for each phase. The whole cycle length will be divided into time for each phase. This is the end of your design if there are no pedestrians. If there are no pedestrians, this is the end of your design. If there are pedestrians, then you have to perform the third step. Okay, now what's the third step? First of all, find out if there are if the pedestrian is allowed to cross on this intersection, how much green time the pedestrian needs, how much green time they need. Okay, so we have a table for that to find out the pedestrian green time. Then see if the vehicle green meets the pedestrian requirements. The vehicle green meets the pedestrian requirement. Now, which vehicle green we are talking about? Which vehicle green we are talking about? For example, if you are talking about pedestrian crossing in this direction, can I use the green time of this vehicle? No, obviously not, right? This pedestrian cannot cross when this vehicle has green. You will kill him. Okay, so we don't want to kill him. We are talking about the green time which will be parallel to this one, which will be parallel to this one. Okay, so So this pedestrian may cross when this movement is happening, right? Or this movement is happening. Okay, because this one will be blocked. Okay, so you will calculate the pedestrian green time. You will check the pedestrian green time with the vehicle green time in which this pedestrian can move. Okay, so if that green time is enough for this pedestrian, you can stop here. Okay, the pedestrian green time you calculate in step in the first task is task A. If this is meeting the vehicle green time, you can stop here. But if let's say the vehicle green time is not enough to meet the pedestrian requirement, then you have to adjust the signal timings. Okay, and we will see how to adjust the signal timings in an example at the end. Okay, so phasing plan, there is no fixed phasing plan. Phasing plan has to be developed from your own experience and from your own trial and error. Okay, so I cannot give you a phasing plan that for this intersection this should be the phasing plan and so on and so forth. There is no fixed phasing plan. There is no equation for calculating phasing plan. You will develop your own phasing plan. Okay, like as a traffic engineer. But there are some guidelines. You have to follow the guidelines, and the guidelines are first of all, phasing should minimize accident risk by separating conflicting movements. This is what I said in the previous slide as well. Okay, so usually in one phase you should not have any conflicting movements. In the same phase you should not have any conflicting movements. And as I said, there is a exception if the movement has very low volume. Okay, maybe let's say 1 or 2 vehicles in an hour, so that's not important. You can allow it in the same phase as well. Okay, but this is usually not a common practice and not a good practice as well. Why? I will explain to you later on. Okay, so ideally we should have a separate phase for each movement, but increasing number of phases will increase lost time. Okay, increasing number of phases also increases lost time. So you cannot just keep on increasing the number of phases. Okay, so this is another advantage of separate phases, especially for turning movements, is you can increase their flow rates. Turning movements can achieve saturation flow rates if they're having separate phases. When turning movements are allowed with other movements, with the straight movements and so on, usually they do not achieve, like drivers are driving more cautiously, so their headway is usually higher, and they do not achieve the maximum flow rate, which is a saturation flow rate. Okay, so like everything in this world, the increasing number of phases has an advantage as well as disadvantage as well. The advantage is safety. Okay, and the second advantage is achieving higher flow rate if you are having a separate phase. Okay, so if the left turning vehicle feel that they have a separate phase, okay, so they usually go at higher speeds and with lower headways. Okay, but the disadvantage is more phases will decrease your capacity, overall capacity. Okay, so giving separate phases for turning movements cannot be applied to every location. Then you have to follow the standards and criteria. Okay, so there are detailed standards and criteria given in the MUTCD, Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices. I referred to it in the previous lecture as well. And fortunately, the manual is available online, free. You can go and download it. You can look at all the standards and criteria which you have to follow for phasing. Some of it is mentioned in the book as well. I will not go in the details. And there can be some local standards as well. Okay, local standards will be given by the ministry. Okay, so you have to follow all the standards and criteria. And the important thing which I want to emphasize is once you have developed the phasing plan, then you have to make sure that on that location you are providing appropriate signs, marking, and hardware for the usage of the lane. Okay, phasing plan indicates how the lanes should be used. For example, if in one phase you are allowing straight and left turning both, straight and left turning both are allowed in the same phase, then you can have one lane for both of them. For both movements, you can have one lane because they have same time. So in that case, you need one lane. You don't need any separation, and on that lane you can mark that this lane is for straight and left both. But if you are giving separate phases for turning movements, then the left turning lane should be separate. Okay, on most of the intersections you will see a traffic island there as well. on the lane you will see a marking as well. Okay, I already give you the, I think the example. Even if I did not give, just give me a second. So if you are going from Sheikh Salman Highway towards Tubli, okay, so there's a big intersection, right? The big signal. You cross the big signal, there's the bridge, right? So if you take the right turn, you will go towards Sheikh Salman Highway, and if you go straight, then you will go to some other area. I forgot the name of the area, but it's a bridge, right? It's a bridge. So before the bridge, you will see the signboard at the side of the road. So signboard is indicating the lane usage as well. If the two lanes on the right are for turning right, and the two, I think 3 lanes are going straight. So they have a big board there as well, and it's on many locations, not only on this occasions. It is on many locations. So you will sometimes the lane usage also marked with a board. And what do we mean by signal hardware? Obviously, you are giving a separate phase for left turning, so you will see a separate set of lights for the left turning as well. Okay, so the left turning will have a separate, its own 3 lights, red, green, and yellow. Okay, because obviously it's separate, so you will see it with the arrow sign, and so there will be one set of light for straight and another set of light for left turning. So this is what they mean by signal hardware. Okay, so your phasing plan will indicate how the lanes should be used, and once you have made your phasing plan, then you have to provide necessary marking signs and hardware for the driver to know that what is the phasing plan. Okay, so you come to an intersection, you see 2 sets of lights, you already know that I have a different phase for left turning. Okay, separate phase for left turning. Okay, your phasing plan must be consistent with the intersection geometry, lane use, volume and speeds, and pedestrian crossing requirements. So I already explained about the lane use, right? Intersection geometry as well. I will give you some more examples in the coming slides. Okay, volume and speeds. Volume and speeds means what? Movements which have higher volume and higher speeds should have more time as well, right? So if you have a intersection where there's a major highway and minor highway, the major highway would obviously have more volume and more speed, so it should have more phase timing as well. And these for these roads, usually the phasing plan is like we implement more than one phase then. Okay, that the turning movements have separate phases for volumes for highways which have higher volumes and higher speeds. Okay, so this is what they mean here. For big intersections, you will see more phases, different lanes. Lanes are separated, and if the intersection has only one major highway, then that major highway should have more time. Okay, and only that highway may have separate phases for turning. Pedestrian crossing requirements, we talked about it in the previous case as well. Okay, so pedestrian crossing requirements also includes providing crosswalks, for example. Okay, and checking the signal timing, and what else? Yeah, so I think this is the case. So you need to check. You have to make sure that they are consistent. Yeah, one more thing which I almost forgot. So if you are pedestrian crossing like this, okay, so this is a highway, okay, and you are crossing like this, and straight and left turning phases are different. Okay, so if I'm allowing pedestrian crossing here, then I must give an island here as well, because it may happen that I may cross half the road when this phase was blocked. The straight phase was blocked. I may cross half the road, but when I come here, this phase is still open, so I cannot cross the rest of the road. Okay, I cannot cross the rest of the road, so you have to provide me an island here. Otherwise, where will I stand? I'll be in the middle of the road. So this is what they mean by meeting the pedestrian requirement. This is also one of the pedestrian requirements, that wherever you are providing different phases and the pedestrian is allowed to cross from the direction, you have to provide refuge and waiting area for the pedestrians as well. So if he has to wait between 2 phases, you have to provide an island. If he has to wait between 2 directions, the median should be wide enough. It should have crosswalk and everything. Okay. Phasing plan can be shown with 2 diagrams: phase diagram and ring diagram. both are made up of blocks or squares, you can say. In a phase diagram, each block represents all movements in a phase. In a phase diagram, one block represents all movements which are allowed in a phase. A ring diagram, again made up of blocks, but in a ring diagram, each block represents movements which are allowed from one ring or one signal controller or one set of signal lights or signal faces. So like I said in the previous slide, you may have a signal which has which is for straight movement. Okay, so this is one set of signal faces. This is for one direction, right? Okay, now you may have in the same phase, you may allow this one, and again this is very common. Okay, this is not something which I'm making up. Very common. Two straight movements can be allowed in one phase. Okay, but obviously this signal will be different than the signal which is shown to this direction, right? So you will have two signal controllers. Okay, two set of lights. Basically, signal controller means a set of lights. Okay. So you will have two signal controllers, one for this direction, the other one for this direction. So in the ring diagram, although they are happening simultaneously, but they will be shown in different boxes or different blocks. Blocks means same thing. Okay, so in a ring diagram, movements from each face, okay, or each set of lights is shown in a different box or in a different block. Okay, movement which from each set of lights, okay, each movement which is controlled by each signal, okay, or each set of lights or signal is shown with a different block or a different box. Okay, so this is the main difference between a phase diagram and a ring diagram. So the one set of lights or one signal pole with a set of lights is known as a ring or a signal controller, or also set of signal faces. Faces means the lights. Faces means lights, not the phases. Okay, not PHFA, PHASES. It is FACS, faces. So signal lights are also known as faces. Let me show you some examples. Before we go to the examples, let us understand the terminology here, the legends. So movements are shown with arrows, right? It's very obvious. Movements are shown with arrows. Now, in this picture, you can see different arrows. So you can see straight, right, and left turning arrows, right? So this is indicating the direction of the movement, right? Straight, right, and left. Okay, so left means left turning movement, right arrow means right turning movement, and so on. Now you can see some arrows are, for example, in the second and the third picture, you can see different arrows coming from the same line. This indicates a shared lane. Shared lane means what? One lane is allowing more than one movement. So you can see in this case, all three movements are allowed from the same lane. In this case, again, all three movements are allowed in the same lane. Then in this case, there's an exclusive lane for left turning, and then there's a shared lane for straight and right. Same case here as well. So in the fourth and the fifth one, the exclusive lane is used for left turning. So if an arrow is coming from a separate line, that means there's a separate lane for this movement. Okay, and if the arrows are coming from the same line, that means it's a shared lane case. Then you can see some arrows are dotted and some arrows are bold, like solid. Dotted arrows indicate permitted movement. Permitted movement. Now, permitted movement means what? Permitted movement means the movement which is allowed even if the conflicting movement is happening. Or in other words, let me make it simple, the movement which is allowed even if the signal is red. If the signal is for that direction is red, the movement which is still allowed is known as permitted movement. Okay. In our case, it is right turning. In our case, it is right turning. Right turning movement is allowed. Okay. You don't have to, except for very, very few locations. I think I found only one location in the whole variant which has a separate signal for right turning. Okay. So normally right turning for us is permitted. Okay. That one signal is on the road which goes towards the stadium. Okay. So I think there's a military hospital or something like that, which has a separate phase for right turning as well. But normally it is closed. So usually right turning for us is permitted. Okay, and even in this case, in all these pictures, you can see Right turning is usually permitted. Then we have protected left turn, protected movement, which means the movement is protected by the signal. So the movement will only happen if the signal is green for that movement, and that also means the other movements, the conflicting movements, are blocked. So protected movements. Why we call it protected? Because when it happens, the signal is green for that movement. That means the conflicting movements are blocked by the other signals. Okay, that's why we call it protected. Okay, so a solid line means protected, and a dotted line means permitted movement. And now you can imagine why we don't have, so you can allow they said in the book that you can allow left turning. I don't know where they are using it and how they are using it. It's out of my mind. But they said in the book that you can allow left turn to be permitted as well if the volume for the left turn as well as from the other direction is very low. If the volume for that direction as well as the other direction is very low, then you may allow left turning as well. But if you ask me, or if you imagine yourself, on one intersection, left turning is permitted. On the next intersection, it's protected. You can imagine how much confusion it will create, right? So to avoid confusion, we don't usually play with these things. Permitted left turns are usually protected, and right turns are usually permitted. Okay, let me. I'm going over time now. Sorry for that. Let me quickly show you some examples. So this is a phase and a ring diagram. Phase diagram is this one. So you can see there are only two phases because all turning movements are permitted. Okay, but if you come to the ring diagram, you can see since this movement and this movement are from different directions, so they require different rings or different controllers. So you can see them in different boxes. Okay, but these boxes are parallel to each other. So parallel means the movements are happening at the same time. So even in a ring diagram, you can show different movements that are happening in the same phase with parallel boxes to indicate that they are in the same phase. Okay, and one thing about consistency, you can see all directions have only one lane, so you can see consistency in the phasing diagram as well. Okay, only one lane is shown, and there is no separate turning lane in any direction, so there is no separate turning phase as well. Okay, then this one is this east-west direction has more than one lane, and there is an exclusive lane for left turning as well. So you can see an exclusive phase for left turning as well. Exclusive phase for left turning. So there are three phases now. Right turning is still permitted, and for the north-south direction, still all turning movements are permitted. Okay, and there is no separate lane for left turning, so there is no separate phase for left turning as well. Okay, come to the ring diagram. Both left turning movements are happening in different directions, so they need two boxes and so on. If you have an actuated signal, actuated means signal with a sensor. If you have a signal with a sensor, then maybe you can skip left turning phases if there is no volume for left turning. So in the left turning lane, you put a sensor, and then you program the signal that left turning phase will only be used if volume is detected for left turning. So you can make a left turning phase actuated. So most of the times, or in times where there is no left turning volume, the signal will operate without any left turning phase. Okay, so this is one advantage of actuated signals, that you can skip phases as well. And you can imagine why we are not doing it in this course, because it's a very higher advanced level analysis. Okay, so we cannot complete in this course. This is exclusive pedestrian phase. This is a signal that is exclusive pedestrian phase. So this is an intersection from the first example which I showed you. So one lane in each direction, all turning movements are permitted, and then they have a separate phase for allowing the pedestrian. So no movement is allowed in this phase. In the third phase, no movement is allowed. I saw these phases in Belgium when I was there last year. So they closed the whole intersection. So you can move in any direction in that one phase. Okay. So if you want to make a ring diagram out of this, then it will look like this. The first two phases we already know, right? I've shown you in the first example. So it will be this one. Okay. And this one. Okay, and this one. And this one. Okay, and this one is nothing. Why I made two faces? Because why I made two blocks? Because they are showing different signals, right? They are in different directions. Signals are in different directions. Okay, so this will be a ring diagram for that. Okay, so you can look for more examples from the book. Okay, the book has more examples for the phase and ring diagram with more combinations. Okay. Dua Rabi, Amna Muhammad, Muhammad Usama, Amal Abdullah. Dua Rabi, Amna Muhammad, Muhammad Usama, Amal Abdullah. Amna and Usama. Amal, Muhammad Noman, Ali Muhammad, Hakim Ali. Muhammad Noman, Ali Muhammad, Hakim Ali. Ali Muhammad, Hakim Ali. Zahra Sayyid, Fawaz Adil, Abdullah Jaliluddin, Abdurrahman Ibrahim. Zahra Sayyid, Fawaz Adil, Abdullah Jaliluddin, Abdurrahman Ibrahim. Zahra. Nujus Salah. Nujus Salah. Okay. Nadeen Hussam, Zahra Riyad, Abu Bakr Ghani, Zainab Ali Ahmad. Nadeen Hussam, Zahra Riyad, Abu Bakr Ghani, Zainab Ali Ahmad. Abu Bakr, Zahra Riyad. Zainab, Lulwa Ibrahim, Mariam Abdul Amir, Majd Bashar. Zainab, Lulwa Ibrahim, Mariam Abdul Amir, Majd Bashar. Mariam. Okay, Majd Bashar, Asil Hassan, Ali Mustafa, Laila, sorry, Asil Hassan, Ali Mustafa. Asil Hassan, Ali Mustafa. Ahmad Khalid, Abdullah Husamuddin, Latifa Ahmad, Fatma Abdali. Ahmad Khalid, Abdullah Husamuddin, Latifa Ahmad, Fatma Abdali. Ahmad, Fatma. Zainab Abdali, Zainab Abdulal, Ala Salman, Isra Abdul Kareem. Zainab Abdali, Zainab Abdulal, Ala Salman, Isra Abdul Kareem. Zainab Abdulal, Zainab Abdali. Ali Abdul Razak, Elizabeth Ann, Ali Makki, Ibrahim Muhammad. Ali Abdul Razak, Elizabeth Ann, Ali Makki, Ibrahim Muhammad. Ali Abdul Razak, Elizabeth Ann. Okay, done. Everybody done from this section? I'm moving on to section 1 now. Okay, people from section 1. Dana Isa. Khalid Qasim, Muhammad Khalid, okay. Okay, Huda Hassan. Anybody else from section 1? Everybody done? Okay, thank you. See you guys on Thursday, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.